Good afternoon and welcome to the Career Conversations panel about discovering careers in technology. My name is Liz Cook and I'm the Employer and Alumni Liaison here at the Career Center, which is just upstairs at 202 McLaughlin, so I welcome you to come visit us. This event is part of a series that includes the Industry Insights and Career Conversations panels, both of which are generously sponsored by the Alumni Relations Office, and we'd like to thank them for their generous support. And we're also presenting this panel in partnership with the Center for Student Success with the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies. And we have Diane Sednicki at the back representing them. So on the far left here we have Harry Singh. He's an IT analyst and customer training associate with D3 Security Management. And he's an alumnus. He graduated from the iTech program. We have Chris Guselle.
That's right, Guselle.
Guselle, right next to him. And he's a senior software engineer with RAD International, and he's an alumnus with a bachelor's in English. Next to him, we have Abdullah Merei, who's a staff engineer, compression systems technical leader with Evertz Microsystems Limited. And next to Abdullah, we have, and you are also an alumnus, with a BSc in computer engineering. Next to Abdullah, we have Eugen Spivak, who's managing partner with ADT Group, and an alumnus with a BSc in computer science and an MBA from the Schulich School of Business. And on the end, we have Hossein Mohajer, who's a network specialist with TD Bank.
Correct.
And an alumnus with an MA in economics. So welcome to our panel. Thank you all very much for joining us. So I'm going to begin the panel just by asking each of the panelists to introduce yourself briefly and let us know about your role and your key responsibilities within your current organization. So we'll start here with Harry and we'll work our way across the panel.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Harry.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Harry for short. I'm a graduate from York in 2011 in the IT degree, and I streamed in health informatics, although I didn't really enter the health sector for my job. My current role, I work at a D3 security company. They're situated in Vancouver, and we provide a security solution to any companies that have personal security or cameras, and they use incident reporting. Basically, if anyone is filing incidents, or for example, at a shopping mall, if there's a slip and fall, and the security officers are filing incidents, they would use their security software and the handheld devices to file the incident electronically, and then the security directors can go ahead and generate the reports as needed. Part of my role is to attend customer calls, resolve issues either via email or callback, and also being a senior IT analyst at D3, I supervise my small team, which we have. Half of them are situated in Vancouver and half in Oakville, or well, close to Toronto. That's pretty much it if you have any questions.
Okay. Chris?
I work for RAD International, and we're a fairly small software consulting company. We have clients that are government-related, charities. Our biggest clients are financial institutions, though, and for the last year or so, I've been working with one of the largest financial institutions in the States, and I'm working in their retail client group, or with their retail client group, prototyping new software applications that will be running in the retail branches. So this is what the tellers will actually be using in the retail branches. And we're doing a complete refresh or refactoring of the existing applications starting in January. And so I'm sort of just laying the groundwork and testing different technologies and working with different frameworks to get an idea of different approaches that we could take. I'm primarily a front-end client-side engineer, and previous to here, I worked independently as a consultant for many years with large enterprise-scale apps with Citibank and OpenText, EMC, and also some small startups along the way too.
Thank you. Abdullah?
Okay, my name is Abdullah. I work at a company called Evertz Microsystems. We manufacture TV and broadcasting equipment. My role is a staff engineer and a technical leader, so I've got both. I manage the QA team for the compression products, and I also lead the development team for the same product line as well. So responsible for the development of the product, the delivery of the product, and managing the customers as well.
Hello, I'm Eugen Spivak. I am at the company called EDT Group. We provide various IT and management consulting services to various companies, and my present client is Metrolinx. At Metrolinx, I'm establishing project management office and a discipline to manage about 85 million worth of projects, which includes everything that various members of staff do in the project's methodology, tools, standards, and so on. And throughout my career, pretty much had every single role that exists out there in IT. So you will hear today the perspectives that will hopefully help you out to leverage from this experience.
Hi, my name is Hussein. I work for TD Bank. I'm part of a specialized group that deals with low latency trading applications. So it's a group of 6 of us, and we support 2 data centers located in Toronto. And the main purpose of this is to provide support, design, integration, and architecture for the low latency trading applications. My job is half technical, the other half is managing the relationship with internal clients as well as vendors.
Excellent. So you're all coming from a variety of educational backgrounds, and you're all working in a pretty diverse range of careers. I'm hoping that you can briefly share an overview of your career story with us. So including how you became interested in this field and how you got to where you are today, including your educational backgrounds. And let's start with Hussein, who moved this way on the panel.
So I graduated, I think, in 1995, so I can't remember the exact date. So 95, 96, I did my MA in economics. I came out, I looked for jobs, I couldn't find it, so I made a career change. So I went into IT. IT was good to me. I started in the networking field. I'm not a pure IT guy. I was never a pure IT guy. So I started in networking. Initially, I started with a small company. Then I landed a job in Bell. I started in the design. This is within the enterprise function. With the design, and after that, I got laid off, I think in 2008 from Bell when they had downsizing. So I found a job in TD, and I have been with TD since then. So my specialization right now is with, again, networking field, but within the financial sector and trading side.
And I have started also as in Bell, ironically enough, where randomly, just out of the blue, I'm receiving the call from the hiring manager, and I didn't even hear properly that it was from Bell. I drove by the interview expecting nothing much in return, and I get a very wide spectrum of quite a few of the questions that probe me in the capacity of the generalist, not just technical team lead or technical analyst or for a specific role, but pretty much everything. And we ended up managing pretty much every single project that was going on around Bell.ca environment, me and my 2 other colleagues. And since then, out of starting to be a generalist, I became even wider generalist. Throughout that time, managed about 72 IT projects, and this is my background.
All right. So in my last year at York, I think that was in 2008, I joined Evertz as a part-time design engineer. I had worked as a research assistant at York before, at the Center of Vision Research. Worked there for 2 years. Joined Evertz as a part-time design engineer. Worked there for a year. Graduated. Joined them full-time as a design engineer, and then I kind of went from a design engineer to a product specialist, to a solutions architect, and to a project manager, and now to a staff engineer. So I've kind of went through different positions in different departments within the company, and kind of learned about the whole end-to-end product solution that we have.
So I graduated in '98, and I also started working while I was still at York. My first job out of school was with Canadian Pacific in their Computers and Communications division. And I always had an interest in information technology, but the position that I first had really wasn't IT related, although it was working in a division of CP that was all about IT. And I just took that opportunity and tried to position myself into an IT position. And then from there, over the years, I've just had several different types of positions that have related to programming, but also visual design and graphic design, and all on front-end development of applications mostly. And then over the years, just found the engineering side more lucrative, so I tended to kind of go in that direction a bit more. And then I guess for maybe the last 10 years, I've been doing pretty much just programming and development work. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of different contract jobs, working independently as a consultant, and then a few full-time positions here and there.
Okay, so my career started with the 2 internships I did from TIP at through the Career Center. First one was it was at SSMC Technology as a database admin and developer. It was roughly a year long. And then the following year, I did a year at Research in Motion, BlackBerry, for a year as a software tester. And then that kind of got me up to speed on some of the different IT technologies at different companies. And then during the last year, I slowed down my graduation and became part-time student and started applying for part-time jobs. And that's how I landed at D3 Security, which hired me as a part-time through my last year. And it incorporated everything I knew from RIM and SSNC. Also, as a hobby, I do graphic designing, so they were looking for a graphic designer at that time. And I started my career. 8 months into part-time, I became full-time at D3. So that's it. Thanks.
All right. So technology changes very quickly. What trends do you notice in your particular fields, and how do you think that those will affect jobs in your industry? Let's start with Harry.
So some of the basic trends is, definitely having a good communication, team building skill, and a good command of English, both written and spoken, for communicating between the team and outside to external clients. Besides the technical skills, everything I learned at York through the courses was definitely useful. It builds you up to a level where you can learn more. Further learning is easier once you know all the basic concepts from that.
Is there anything in particular that you think is important right now or will become important?
Definitely the SQL and database stuff. 3rd and 4th year courses at York definitely helped. One thing I did want to specify, which I didn't learn at York, but it's coming up as an important item, is Microsoft SharePoint. It's really high in demand right now.
Okay.
So if you guys want to start learning on the side, definitely guarantees some careers coming up.
Well, from a technical perspective, there are some languages that are really hot right now, like JavaScript. Even though JavaScript's been around for a very long time, it is becoming, people are just building a lot more sophisticated applications with JavaScript, mainly because the browsers have become better and faster, and the virtual machines in the browsers can handle much more complicated applications. So there's huge demand right now for people that have a really in-depth knowledge of JavaScript. So I don't mean just like knowing jQuery a little bit or something like that, but like really understanding the language. And with that, also mobile is huge as well. So if you combine those two, JavaScript and mobile, I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I think it's tough to say. Like it's hard to predict what's going to be in the future. But I mean, if you look at the trends now, it's everyone's talking about the cloud, computing in the cloud, mobile. These are really the hot topics. If you're looking at web development, there's like Ruby on Rails. I mean, there's a bunch of tools, but what I would suggest is you need to continuously read about the new technologies, keep up to date with the news. There's a couple of interesting websites that you should follow, whether it's Kickstarter for like new innovations that are coming, or other technology websites. But it's good to keep up to date. Whatever you learn in university is good as a basic knowledge, but you still need to continuously learn the up-to-date things and just read and try it on your own. I think that's very important. But for now, I would say cloud computing and mobile is very important.
Completely agree with Harry that SharePoint is a good entry point in the field. Most of the government of Ontario implements SharePoint, has either implemented or is in the process of the implementation. Also, software tester and quality assurance is also another easier entry point to the information technology, which allows you to get a little bit of everything in all areas and then branch into a specific role within IT that you prefer. In terms of the trends, there has been a steady shift in the past few years from information technology to business technology, and you all know about this. The search engine optimization and all of the emerging areas between technology and the marketing, and really seeing technology as the tool for the business goals, or rather than a technical department in itself. Because one of the major shifts recently is that technology became a key source of competitive advantage for companies, when in fact before it was just a cost center and something in the back room or in the back corner. And speaking about research, you do have an amazing tool here as part of your school subscription. I still think you have it. Gartner, ever heard about it? Can you please raise the hands who used it once? Great, so some of them used it. So Gartner is a trend research company, and I believe as a part of your subscription, when you get that library code, you can get it via the online resources. Amazing tool. It has all of the research methodologies which drill in each specific industry, product type, and so on, that give you exactly what's hot there, what's not, which products are attractive, and so on. So pretty much all of it will keep you very much up to date on the topic of what's hot in the industry, because guess what? People outside in the industry have to pay pretty hefty dollar for this type of access. And just think of how exactly you can justify your skills and your current knowledge of technology for the hiring managers to hire you. This will keep you very successful.
Well, pretty much in line with everybody else. Within the networking field or network technology, probably the cloud computing and architecture for data center is the most relevant one for you now if you wanted to enter. As an entry point, it's hard to enter in those fields. You need to get lucky, in essence, to go into those fields. Your communication skills is your gateway, because at the end of the day, the person who hires you will basically hire you because they like you, they feel comfortable with you, and then they look at your credentials and say, you have it. Most hiring managers look for you to have enthusiasm. They assume you have the basic knowledge, and most importantly, because you're young, they assume you can learn quickly, which in IT is pretty much the standard. In terms of planning, IT looks usually, so far I know, about three years down the road as long-term planning. Anything after that is usually new technology. So don't think about long-range planning in terms of 5 to 10 years within IT. Recently, I heard that health informatics is great. If you go, especially if you have a master's, if you go to US or I don't know whether New York has it, to offer you a 100% placement. So great field. Some job advertising doesn't require you even to have a background or any kind of experience. So you want to look into it. You can enter a field and then later on change it. But at the end of the day, whatever you do, you have to stay current in terms of the knowledge you have in IT, which is purely information. And what remains with you for most part is your communication skills, your building relationship, being good with people. That matters the most. Really, that matters the most. If you don't have it, you don't go far.
So those interpersonal skills become really important in your lines of work. even though those technical skills are important, there are also interpersonal skills that become really important, including communication. And Harry, you mentioned that you developed many of those skills on an internship, and I just wanted to clarify, you said TIP, I just wanted to clarify for everyone here that that's the York Technology Internship Program. And if you are interested in participating in that internship program, check out the website for the next info session, and I'd welcome you to attend and see if you're eligible for the program and if it seems like it would be a good fit for you. The next question that I have for you all is, could you please tell me what role networking played in your personal career journeys? Starting here with Harry. If
Well,
at all. If it
didn't impact that much, but I do keep in touch with the people I networked with in the past. There is something called Canadian Undergrad Technology Conference. I recommend everyone checking that out and attending it. It's a great networking event, and IT companies from all over Canada and some US companies showcase their products there, and we go through certain case studies and participate in competitions. So that's a great event. I personally think the best networking is amongst you guys as peers. The person you're sitting next to might be doing something 5 years down the road in IT that can help you get into a career in their company or vice versa. And then if you do end up doing any co-ops or internships, do keep in touch with the managers and supervisors who can probably link you in a career later on.
Obviously, LinkedIn is huge. I'm sure everybody here is on LinkedIn. I get so many recruiters hitting me through LinkedIn. Like once you sort of reach a critical mass, it's just amazing how much interest that can generate. And keep working on your LinkedIn profile. Don't look at mine. Mine's not up to date. It's terrible. But that's what you should do. Joining user groups, especially if you are thinking about a more technical career, there are so many user groups in Toronto and the GTA in general for different technologies, different groups. Every week they're meeting at bars, clubs, everywhere. It's a great opportunity to meet other developers and startups, and open source projects are another great way to meet people and get involved in the community by either starting your own open source project or joining one that's out there if there's a technology that you're particularly interested in. That's a great way to connect with people. And also just working to raise your online profile through like blogging even. I don't have a blog, but you should. I think if you're starting out in particular, it really helps raise your profile and not just another way to connect with people. You just never know who's going to be searching something, find your blog, read it, contact you. You got to keep working at all of these things simultaneously, nonstop, I think. And it'll pay off. But you got to hustle, and you got to get out there and do it.
And do you have any personal examples of how networking has benefited your own career?
Through meetups, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Technology meetups. Before really focusing on JavaScript, I was a Flex developer, which is a very sort of small community of developers. But with a really vibrant meetup scene in Toronto, and really got to know everybody who's, not everyone, but a lot of really prominent developers in that community through just going to different meetups and talking to people, which was a huge benefit to future jobs, and also sending them work when I had an opportunity to, and it's reciprocal, and it's just a great way to build your career.
I think networking is very important in, at least in your job search. The typical process to get a job is you're sending in your resume to HR, which some companies, they probably receive around 1,000 resumes a day. Then the HR has to process the resumes, find a couple of good ones, send it to the project man, like the team leads or the managers, they have to go through the packages, select another person, and then it goes back and forth. You know, you got to do a phone screen, then you do an in-person interview. It's just, it's very tough to get into any company that way. It's very important to network, find people who work at the company. It makes a big difference when someone who works at the company gives the resume to HR and tells them, I think he's a good candidate, please interview him, versus you're just sending a resume. And I mean, even if it's a specific technical position, I mean, we get resumes for anyone. Like, it'll be someone who's studying music, he'll just send his resume because he saw that there's a job opening. It doesn't mean that only programmers will apply to a programming job. Everyone just sends their resume, and I think it's very tough to get in that way. So it's always good to network. One thing to keep in mind is when you're networking, don't network just because you want to find the person who's going to benefit you. I mean, that shouldn't be the goal why you're networking. It's good to talk to people. You know, there's always interesting people around. It shouldn't be, oh, I got to talk to this person because he's going to be able to get me a job. You just get into the habit of talking to anyone. Like, it's a good skill to have. You know, you're sitting on the plane, start talking to the person next to you. I think it's a good skill to have, and for sure you will benefit from it one day or another.
And do you have any examples of times when networking has benefited you in your career?
I mean, that's how I got my job, my first. So it's that's the best way to get a job, I think.
Great.
Right, so for me, I have a little bit different take on networking, and I believe it's not whom you know, but it's who knows you. Because at the end of the day, we need to be one of few, maybe 3 to 5 top specialists in our city, so that people will know us in our own industries. While we are on the road there are a few of the things that you may find helpful for with regards to networking. First, build your own brand. So have your resume looking similar to your website, have your blog. In your blog, think of some of the actual problems that industry people experience. Read up maybe 3, sometimes 4 books. And by the way, if you read 3 to 4 books, it will make you know more about a given topic, not necessarily even technical, even general, such as marketing, such as technology management, and so on, than 85% of people. So 3 books, you know more than 85% of the people. And then you share the news in the blog, you keep it updated, you build your profile this way, and do offer practical solutions to the problems. Sometimes in school we were taught more academic and more global things. Look at practicality. Can this be implemented within a day, within a week, and so on. And also, again, build your brand so that people will see your sharp LinkedIn profile. Your Facebook page will not say different employers or different information, and so on. And sooner or later, this will be paying off. And in terms of the example of how exactly networking works is on the interviews recently, sometimes hiring managers or executives ask, well, whom exactly did you work with at that company? This and this person. Okay, understood. And then by knowing that you have done great job at your several previous places, really makes a difference and gives you the confidence and gives you the edge ahead of other people. That extra, maybe 10-15% above the 100 that you've honestly given to your role will make a very big difference in the long run. And on that note, as you very well know, do not do not so good job. That was.
Well, my personal experience with networking, I don't think so. I have had any references to go find a job. Most of the time, the jobs I found were coincidental. I applied for a job and I got the job. Or when I was recommended, I didn't leverage those connections. However, in terms of networking, it's not only for you to get a job, but networking, the people you know are your assets or the people who guide you through life. So someone who gives a fantastic recommendation for you, generally they mean it, unless there's something wrong there. But they generally mean it, and someone who hears that says, well, that's great. So that's good for you. You can call people up, ask for feedback in terms of how do I do something, where do I go sometimes. So that's quite important, and you don't have access to those people unless you have something to offer. And that something to offer has to be something genuine, something authentic coming from you, it's coming from your heart. It cannot be just a business transaction, I need you, you know, you need me. Those things usually die, they don't last long. So if you want to network, develop passion for something in life that you like. If you're in politics, great, mean it and be in it. If you're in religion, mean it. If you are in cooking and you like cooking, do it, and benefit also the society around you. You know, give, in essence, without having an expectation to receive back. Now, you can also leverage something specifically like LinkedIn and other organizations where it's targeted towards you finding jobs, but you will find it is generally difficult to go in and say, hey, here I am and I want to do something. So you have to have something relevant to offer, and the only way you can really do it is when there's human interaction and you give something first. So try that. Maybe it's successful, maybe not, but you know what? Life is about a journey and you live it.
I like that. So networking doesn't have to be about finding a job, but the people that you network with
Pretty
will
much.
be guiding you through
Yes.
life. And you're approaching it as though you have something to offer, not you're trying to get something out of a relationship.
Hopefully that's the way it is.
At this point, I'd like to open up the floor to questions from the audience.
Hi, my question is for anyone on the panel who had experience with a written test. So in IT, I believe some of the jobs have written tests now. And I was wondering, how do you prepare for a written test?
How do you prepare for a written test? We'll start here with Harry and this way.
Sorry, I haven't had one.
You haven't had one?
No.
Okay.
I am actually going through something similar. I've recently was looking at different approaches to doing this, and there actually are several books that are out there that are specifically about handling Google. Like the Google interviews are sort of known as the hardest, toughest written tests for an interview, and a lot of companies are kind of adopting this approach where they almost come up with these crazy riddles that you have to solve on the spot, or things that don't even really look like programming problems that you have to solve. There's 3 or 4. If you go to Amazon and just search Google interview questions, there's 3 or 4 books out there that are specifically give examples of different questions, as well as give you different approaches. And if you go on YouTube, there's also several Google employees who do interviewing, talking about what it is they're looking for. And a lot of it really, I think, is just they want to see how you solve problems. And they don't even really care if you solve the problem. They want to, so preparing for it, one thing that they suggest, which I'll reiterate here, is sitting down with somebody and have them ask you the question, and then practice verbalizing your thought process as you go through solving the problem, because that's really what they want to hear is how are you attacking this problem, and what are your problem solving skills like, and what are your communication skills like around solving this problem if we were to collaborate on something, because that's really what you're going to be doing every day working in IT is collaborating on problem solving. So the more experience that you get, I think verbalizing your thought process when you are solving problems, the better for that type of interview situation. And then, and also, a lot of times in interviews, they'll use something like a Google document where you'll be sharing a document and they'll want to watch you actually code into the document as you're doing it. So that can be a little intimidating if you've never done that before. Having somebody sort of basically look over your back as you're coding, and so keep talking about what you're doing. So like even if you don't, they said the worst thing is basically silence. So even if you're struggling and you don't really know what you're doing, just keep talking and keep typing, and you know, sometimes verbalizing it helps you solve the problem too by putting the issues into words is a great way to solve a problem as well. So that can help. But you know, set it up at home with somebody else ahead of time with the documents going through, and practice just having somebody watch you, and make sure you have all your technical. There won't be any technical issues come interview time if you're doing this online. You know, no connectivity issues or anything like that. So that's what I would recommend.
Well, I think it depends on the position you're applying to. Like if it's a, you know, an advanced C++ programming job, I would say review C++ before you go into that, I guess, the written test. But I agree. It's more about how you solve a problem, and how you communicate with the team members to solve the problem. So, I would say ask a lot of questions. Just show them how you're trying to understand the problem and how you're trying to solve it. I don't think it's about getting the right answer. It's more about they just want to see how you think. And I think one of the most important skills is common sense. And they just want to make sure you have common sense, you have the problem-solving ability. I think a big thing in problem solving is taking a big problem, breaking it into smaller parts, and kind of attacking each small part on its own. So if they're giving you a big problem, try to show them how you're thinking of the subsystems within that system, and just keep breaking the problem to a smaller problem, because it's easier to solve a smaller problem than try to solve the whole system. But I wouldn't be worried about trying to get the exact right answer. Even for the Google interview questions, they've recently said that they're I wouldn't say useless, but they said there's no correlation between the Google questions and the quality of the people they've employed. So I think they've stopped doing that, Google themselves. So I wouldn't. I mean, it's good to get the book and read it and try the questions. They're actually very interesting questions, but there's no way you're going to be able to prepare for any question they're going to ask. Because like some questions are like, how many pennies do you think you can fit in this room? So I mean, it could be anything. So don't stress.
But there are many different approaches to solving that problem.
Yeah,
That's what they're
so,
looking for.
Yeah, I guess they just want to see how you think and how you approach a problem, how you break it into smaller pieces. I think that's the most important thing. And just ask questions. Don't think that by asking questions you're showing that you don't know. I think it's a big thing. It's a big problem at work is if someone is assigned a task and they decide not to ask questions because they're scared to ask questions, and what ends up happening is the task, instead of taking a week, it's taking a month, and it turns out to be wrong because the person didn't ask a question, saying, "What should I do? I'm stuck." So.
Okay, so you may get several types of questions, both on the test and verbally. For most technical questions, of course, divide and conquer approach that you mentioned is the way to go, that you take a problem and you divide it into manageable pieces. For a little bit less technical questions, such as, for example, which language is better, Java or C++, your answer is, it depends, rather than jumping, oh, I love Java because this, and then you cannot stop saying all the reasons why you love it. So your normal and dominant answer, it depends. When you're asked why, well, here are the reasons for it, and here are the reasons against it, which shows your diverse and well-rounded thinking. Then, if you get even less technical questions, what is really important is not the outcome, but how you are structuring your thoughts. So, briefly, I'll recommend you the following framework. So, first, you make the assumption. So, for example, we assume that in the example of pennies, that the length of this room is 30 meters, that we assume that the size of each penny is 1 centimeter, and so on. So first make assumptions. Second, you define your criteria, saying that, if we are faced with two choices of Java implementation versus C++ implementation, let's say here are our criteria of what exactly we mean as successful option. After that, you list options. For example, we can do this, this, and this, and then you rank options. Say, hey, we have all heard that this is the best option that you can go ahead. And this type of approach shows that you're thinking on the feet. Also sometimes be expected to the question, well, what if this doesn't work? Well, then I do this and this. And sometimes you may get even up to 6 what if this doesn't work in a row, which again doesn't put you on the spot, which simply looks at your breakage point and how much of pressure and stress can you handle. So again, be prepared, be enthusiastic, and be forthcoming, and show that if nothing else, you can very quickly learn, but your enthusiasm can take you through any obstacles and any stresses at work.
I don't have any experience on tests within IT outside that I can help you, but not within IT. But my suggestion to you, whatever you put on your resume, if you are applying for a job that's super technical and you are a super technical guy, reflect that. But if you are a mixture of both, make sure that is reflected also in your resume. So when conversation comes up, you can talk to that resume and say, look, I'm not here just to crack the atom, but I'm also a people person, right?
Yeah, and also make sure that the test situation is not the first time when you experience this type of screen sharing or so on. That you do practice before. Practice will make a very big difference.
I think that was a very good point also on the resume. Like if you learn programming in first year university, like if you learn the language C, let's say, first year university, and then in fourth year you're applying for a job, don't put that you have 3 years of experience in C, because that's not, just knowing a language for 3 years is not really 3 years of experience in a language. So make sure that whatever you put on your resume, you're capable of answering questions. Like, they're gonna, if you put 3 years of C or C++ or Java, they're gonna start asking you very low level questions, because I mean, if you've worked with it for 3 years, you should know most of the language. So you can I guess you can put familiar with C, familiar with Java, because you're going to learn about maybe 15 languages while you're studying in your undergrad. Just make sure when you put it on the resume, it's not, I've got 4 years of experience in C++, 2 years of Java, and so on. Because I mean, some people will just go through your resume and give you a test that would apply to your skills. So
tests can be a way for employers to see if what you've got on your resume
is true,
and it can also be a really great opportunity for you to showcase your ability to reason, the way that you approach a problem, maybe some creative problem solving, and your communication skills as well, how you communicate with a team when you are faced with a difficult problem. Who else has a question? Yes.
Hi, my name is Anina. I'm a student at York with International Studies, and I would like to get in GIS after I finish my degree. And I would like to ask all the panelists, what is your experience with GIS, if you have had any, or background in it?
Okay. Do any of the panelists have experience with GIS?
What is it anyway? Maybe you could, one thing in IT is lots of acronyms. What is it standing for?
Geographical Information Systems.
okay.
I do have a little experience. Our application did implement recently a system called GIA, which is close to GIS. Basically, on our handheld devices that we provide to our clients, they can map and geographically locate the area in a 3D environment, and then file the incidents by placing a pin on, just like a Google map. You place a pin and you drop all the information at the pin and file the incident, which electronically gets recorded into the system. I don't know too much detail technically, but that's how we use the GIS for our environment.
I think it would be a good idea to get involved with some York professors that are working in the field. I know the Center for Vision Research has some projects that have GIS. I mean, there's geomatics engineering. When I was a research assistant, I worked on an advanced search and rescue navigation system. So there are quite some projects at York that I think will be a good start. So just talk to the professors. You can look them up online, see what their area of interest is. Go talk to them and start as a research assistant, like a student research assistant or whatever. But I think that would be a good way to start.
Yeah, the other thing is that sometimes for exactly this purpose and for this niche skill set, you have LinkedIn. And on the LinkedIn, the example of networking is very simple. You write a note to somebody, hey, I'm a student at this and this university. I'd like to know more about GIS. Can I buy you a coffee and ask you a few questions? That's it. And when you get the practice and when this comes naturally and when you show the enthusiasm, people in the industry remember length of the way that they have gone and they'll go out of their way to help you.
Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you.
Who else has a question? Yes, in front.
My name is Justin, and I just wanted to get your opinion of the business systems analyst stream. Like you mentioned Microsoft, SharePoint, SQL, and these are like good entry points. So do you see it being like a prosperous stream to get into in the future? Does anybody have any like feedback?
About business analyst and business analysis?
Yeah.
Yes, it is great entry point, especially it's a very good entry point to project management, because sometimes you start as a business analyst, then you find an initiative with low leadership or that is too small to be on the radar of the senior guys. You start organizing things, boom, off you go, you have your first project or initiative that you're accountable for. But when you start with the business analyst, few of the things that you need to be aware of, and the reason why it's a little bit more difficult than, for example, quality assurance position, is that you need to be need to have industry experience, at least a little bit of it, to document the requirements in the way that they make sense for the given industry. You need to know the specifics of how, let's say, how things happen in the industry. For example, banking always wants guys with banking experience, because again, there is so much of language and industry-specific things. So make sure that you polish on the skill set within the industry that you like. And third, that you basically can, or expectation is that when you're a business analyst, let's say intermediate to senior, that on the first day you can enter the situation and start documenting the requirements, expectations, or the needs for the system that you'll be working with. So if you're polished on these, on all these three domains, you'll be good to go for the first job.
And if you like writing, and if you like, communicating complex ideas in a clear manner, that kind of thing, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think definitely would recommend it if that's kind of what you're interested in.
Yes, and also it is important to know what are the information flows and information exchanges. For example, whom does business analyst interacts with on the project, and for that you can look up New York State project management methodology. It's free methodology available, so it will show you how exactly a business analyst is engaged on the project, what he does, what are the templates, and so on. So be familiar with them; it will be a big help.
Also, I think I would suggest, what would your next step be? Like, what do you, whenever you're deciding what do you want to go into, just think of what I want to be in 5 years, what would I like to be in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and so on. I know it's hard to tell your interest will change over time, but I think it's good to know that if you do join business analyst, what can you do after that? Is it gonna, allow you to go to your next step that you want to get to? So I think that's important.
I agree with everyone on the panel. As a business analyst or BA, you definitely need to know what, for example, Microsoft SharePoint is capable of doing for your company. It's customized to every company, basically. It's so huge. You can add modules to it, you can remove modules. So when you're interacting with clients directly and gathering their requirements, you would need to know what your company is technically capable of doing and producing for them. So definitely I recommend it for business analysts.
Currently, I'm an IT student, but I'm also taking marketing courses, so I'm just wondering what job opportunities are there, because I actually don't know what to do after I graduate.
Okay, that's a big question. So what sort of job opportunities do you think there might be for someone studying IT and marketing? Maybe a few ideas?
So a lot of things. So there are both traditional and more of the kind of like new age opportunities. So traditional ones include roles like associate product manager, for example, for a technology company, somebody who helps product manager build a product, looking at some of the research, some of the needs within the industry's market segments, and so on, and then working to become product manager, then product management VP, and so on. And then there are a few of the newer age opportunities where you'll use things where you will help companies to build their social media campaigns. Very few companies know how to do social media marketing well, adequately, and in an engaging way. Yet, what this offers to companies is a huge and untapped amount of potential and ability to reach many clients. So read up some of the online courses. If you simply Google tutorials, it will get you very many excellent tutorials. And again, this is hot knowledge. Plus then when you can demonstrate that for this and this client, you have done this and this thing that led to this huge volume of sales increase and so on, other clients will line up.
I was thinking the same thing. Product marketing, I think that's a great mix. IT and marketing skills together for that role or for that career path.
And just to add to what you guys said, the communication program at York does offer a couple of multimedia courses, one especially in Macintosh. I recommend taking one of those. If you can incorporate some graphic designing skills, video marketing and IT, it's definitely worth it. It's a hot market out there for those things.
Okay. And so having any other, it sounds like any other type of education combined with your technical knowledge too opens up a lot of opportunity, and you can be creative about what sort of opportunities those are.
I have another question for panelists who have had were able to secure jobs in like a small company or startup. I was wondering, how did you go about searching them, and what made you successful in getting that job?
Okay, so it's a question about finding a position with a startup and how that can happen.
One thing that I find a lot of startups are really focusing on right now is what they call cultural fit, which I don't really like the whole idea around very much. But I think it is a bit of a trend with small startups because they're a small group of people. They know it's going to be working very closely together under really tight deadlines, and everyone's going to be doing everything. They want to make sure that they can sort of be friends with everyone and buddies. And I think that's my experience has been that in the startup culture, that's a bigger deal than in the corporate world. Keep that in mind when going into interview. Try to learn as much about the company's culture as you can, because a lot of startups really focus on what their culture is going to be and what they're going to be all about, and maybe a bit too much. And the reason why I don't like it is that a lot of times I think it's it's kind of a code word for excluding people that don't quite fit for some reason, but they still might be awesome developers. And to me, it leads to sort of like a homogeneous sort of startup world that only accepts, for example, men. Often women, I find, are excluded from startup cultures. It's really hard for them to break in, harder for women than men. And they say, well, it's all about cultural fit and that kind of thing. But I think it's a bad trend that's happening in the startup world. But to break in, I think you need to keep that in mind. And what I mentioned earlier about going to meetups, that is really, there's more of a connection between the startup world in Toronto and meetups around different technologies than there is between the corporate world and the meetups. And there's a lot of, I think because startups traditionally are working on more innovative technology, working together as a community to learn about new technology and that type of thing, they place a very high premium on. So if you can get into those groups and meet people, it's a great way to break into startups, just through that. And open source communities as well, like I mentioned earlier.
Any other panelists have?
Yeah, well, one more opinion for you is that there is a thing called Scott's directory. This is a searchable directory. I believe Toronto Reference Library and North York Reference Library has it. So it was a CD that they had in the library, but sometimes I think they web enabled it or something. What it allows you to do, it allows you to select the industry or sub-industry according to those industry codes, and then you get a list of companies for that industry with their fax numbers, addresses, and so on, and maybe even websites. This allows you to target a specific company, such as, for example, GIS, as that is fairly isolated community sometimes, depending on your choice of the industry. I absolutely agree with the culture comment that, and what exactly a smaller company mean under culture comments is that they're really risk averse. So they want pretty much same as every other company, they want for candidates to be in the least risky way. But the difference is that small companies can afford a lot less risk. That's why they normally in big companies roles are very structured. In small companies, you expected to do everything. And when you show that you're willing to learn to do everything and learn even more than that, you'll be pretty good candidate. One other thing, my friend worked at a small company, and he is also a senior guy. And what he has seen is that some of the junior candidates whom he has hired from schools as a part of the graduate program, as a part of the undergraduate program, and so on, really have found the opportunity and then started, for example, developing and ran way too far, and original assumptions behind that code were incorrect. So start in small steps when you're inside. Do a little bit of everything, validate it socially with some of the more senior guys that know how the whole environment works. Don't balance your desire to rush ahead with how much you learn and you incorporate your learning into your first or maybe second role for these companies. Again, this way, there is one thing that you are doing in your first maybe 5 years in the resume. In your corporate role. You're building your resume, you're building your skill set, so that later on it will start working for you. And of course, for this you may want to make a little bit of a sacrifices when it comes to experience versus salary towards the experience.
One thing I want to mention, you mentioned the Scots directory.
Mm-hmm.
You can also access the Scots directory upstairs at the Career Center on either our computers, or we do have physical copies of that as well. So if you're looking to research small to medium companies, we've got that.
Sorry, I'm just going to add to that point. I think, I don't know if you meant tech startups, but if you did, between Toronto and Waterloo, there's a lot of tech startups. They have at least one event every month. So you go there, you're going to talk to, I think, a big part of the startup community. I would suggest you just Google tech startup events in Toronto. I'll think of the names, actually. I used to attend them a while back, so I'll give you some names. But they have, I think, monthly meetups, events. You go, you socialize, have a drink with them, and I think that's the best way to meet people. But Toronto and Waterloo, there's hundreds of tech startups, for sure.
These meetups sound like a very important part of the scene.
Someone who's working in tech industry, where do you see opportunities going forward? Which can be streams or industries or different kinds of programs? Anything you can.
Sorry to ask you, can you paraphrase your question again? For better understanding, on my side at least.
In the technology world, where do you see the opportunities?
So you're asking industry where it goes, or career opportunities where we progress for us?
More on the industry, not what careers will follow.
So what industries, what tech industries do you see growing, or what industries in
Streams
general?
within tech industry.
So probably the first main criteria is, again, if all other things are equal, find a job that pays more. So the jobs that pay more, when you go to modest.com, it's the IT search company. I think online they had a PDF with salary for very different roles, and they do get pretty granular. Like they have about five levels of developers and so on. So that would give you a great landscape for the industry. In terms of what to do is look at the underlying currents in the industry. For example, what has happened before, there was a big wave of outsourcing, and now companies are realizing that quality is so-so, and some of them are bringing the stuff back in house. Cloud is very big opportunity where companies and other areas where you have a paradigm shift. So companies were doing things one way, now they start doing things completely different way. So for example, if 10 years ago we had to set up the IT for a small shop, we would need to do every single thing manually. Now we go to Google Apps and we can find a pretty close match for everything, and no servers need to be maintained in-house. So knowing how to work with the cloud, for example, knowing Google APIs, knowing how to package it in an attractive product so that the customers will think of it. And then sooner or later, keeping in mind how exactly you can be your own startup. What is this thing or this idea that will bring you not to a specific technical goals that you'll have for the next 5 years, but more to a lifestyle goal that is your ultimate goal, and making sure that when you play it back from that lifestyle goal, it is achievable, in fact.
I think from a client-side perspective of building client-side technology, as I mentioned earlier, mobile is huge right now, and it's only going to get bigger, I think, as the PC world continues to diminish and diminish and diminish. Any area, cloud as well, but mobile technology, I think there's going to be even more and more work available. I'd also like to say that what he just said about being your own startup, I think is a really good idea, a really good concept, even if, like, not talking about actually becoming a startup, but just approaching your career like you're an entrepreneur, and that your career is a startup, and just trying to stay in that entrepreneurial mindset of what you need to do to plan and to move forward and to service your customers, who are really just people that you want to work for, or when you get your job, even your internal clients that you're working with, always keeping that mind that you're an entrepreneur and that you're going to just blow these people away. And I like that idea, and I still do that. To some extent.
Well, I don't know exactly that I understood your question correctly, but if I took the same direction the other panelists took here, if I had to give you one direction, this is just reading it, I think data and collection of data, specifically like metadata and stuff like that, and you correlate it to the recent NSA, spying, Bell Canada now trying to collect data, analyze it, and see what you do. So I think one of the biggest challenges, or one of the biggest opportunities will be that we'll be looking at data and doing something with the data. So marketing, privacy, security, all of those fields will be booming. And of course that ties in back with the computational abilities you need to do something with the data. So you need big data centers, you need applications that make sense of it. So there's a lot of layers that you can look at it and deal with it. And those data mining stuff, those are mostly business side, they're rarely technical, right? Of course, there's also lots of ethics involved with it, right? So that's the other side of it.
Yeah, and just to add to your comment is really ask yourself a question. When you choose your current role or maybe next few roles, and when you look around you in downtown, how many companies will need this role? How many companies will need this and 3 other roles that you will have in this, or it is extremely niche that you do out of the passion of your own heart? And when you choose a role that is generic enough, that is in high demand, where you can be top in your field, you will get a wonderful thing that is called choice. So sooner or later, initially, you are in the asking position with your resume. Then then various headhunters will start coming to you, chasing after you, and it will happen if you do everything that we all mentioned here. It will happen much sooner than you think.
So my name is Shabatson from Shuluk School of Business. So one of our classes, we're talking about how we're in the second half of the chessboard, where there's so many exponential changes in technology, new technologies coming out every day, making things more productive, that sometimes human beings are being left behind in some of the jobs that are out there. How do you think schools need to evolve in the way they educate students in order for people to continue to race with the machine as opposed to against the machine? Like, how do you think the education system needs to evolve, or is everything okay the way it is? To get your opinion on it.
I think having more co-ops. That's
Yeah,
I think that's a
totally
good
agree.
way.
Yeah. I
You
think
do
universities need to be far more involved with the industry.
Yeah. So just do 1 year school, do a co-op, go back to school, do another co-op. I mean, that's I think that's one of the best ways to do it. So.
Yeah, you asked a very profound question, and doubt any one of our answers will be as profound. But looking at the specific role of the technology in education, you know, schools do teach. Sometimes, like undergrad taught me Turing or God knows what, Java and so on. But languages are forgotten maybe 3 to 6 months after the graduation. Specifics of accounting are forgotten 3 months after the graduation. But your skills, your dynamics, your adaptability, and ability to handle any kinds of pressure stay with you. So look right through the specifics that today's technology is one thing and tomorrow technology is the other thing. Use it just as a means to achieve the dynamics and proper outlook of your personality, so that at the very least for your initial positions, make sure that your outlook and how you view the world, your perspectives, the way you share them, will be similar to what the hiring manager expects of you. So in other words, make sure that personalities match, and because experienced managers can see very many things from how you speak, what choice of words you have, how do you approach, let's say, divide and conquer part. They can see very many things. That's why one of the best ways for you to get the experience when you don't have as much of the experience is start reading the resumes of more experienced candidates, so that you can see their progression path. Start reading some of the books about this, so that you don't just do what you're taught in school. You also beef up your kind of like your background in this area, and as many of the participants mentioned, do attend the current events. Read up on technology news, and as a result, you will be this well-rounded package that will justify the hiring decision on the part of the hiring manager when they'll have to make the choice.
And around your question about what do educational institutions need to do, I think one thing is they need to move faster in changing, and so they need to somehow develop internal policies and procedures that allow them to adjust to industry trends and societal trends much faster than they do, because they tend to become large bureaucratic institutions, as anyone who goes to York knows. That's not a slight against York, but all universities are like that. But they need to learn to become more lean, so that they can quickly adapt and quickly change in the course material and what they're teaching and the types of students that they're looking for and graduating. And I just don't think it's doing it fast enough. Like when I look at some of the courses that are offered in the communications program, which I took a lot of communication courses when I went to York, some of them really haven't changed. And it kind of blows me away when you think of how much the world of communication has changed since the 80s and the 90s to now. And some of the same profs are still teaching basically the same stuff. And it needs to move faster than that. And I don't know where that pressure comes from for them to move, maybe from students. And I don't even know how they do that, but that's what I see, is they're just not moving fast enough to keep up with society.
Yeah, and sometimes in 3 to 4 years you may not change. You may not be able to change this whole huge structure of York or adopt the change, but what you can do is you can complement your knowledge via a countless number of sites which offer free courses of other universities. Look at what Harvard, MIT, and so on are doing in these areas. Coursera.com, I think, is the site with these courses. And again, because at the end of the day, the most important part is your own well-rounded package
that you're responsible for.
Exactly.
Yeah, agreed with that. Like, for example, if you're learning Java in the class, on the side you can start learning C#, which is along the same lines but different syntax. I believe university does prepare us to be able to learn further technologies by ourselves or through outside courses or certifications. But yeah, we do need to bring in more hands-on practical courses eventually.
I just had a question. If any of you had mentors that helped you in your careers?
Did anyone have a mentor that helped you along the way in your career?
Yes, I was very lucky throughout my working life. I had many mentors, starting my own family, my grandfather, mother, at work, my previous manager, someone outside who I met, very experienced person, they mentored me through it. Most of the time is most of the time is not necessarily a job-specific mentor you need. Most of the time you need someone to support you through the challenges, like a coach that sits beside you on in a competition map and says do X. They're not going to do it for you, however they're going to help you to pass through that difficult stage. That's what you need, and at the end of the day is really the humanity, the human side of the things that matter most. You know, I just got to ask you a question because your question sits in my mind. Did you ask the question? Sorry, did I answer your question correctly? Would it be okay if I ask a question to you? I just want to ask you something. Was your question because the machines and technology in the second side of the chessboard, now we are on the actual side, is making people obsolete? So therefore, what should universities do to help people become obsolete?
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, how can universities better prepare students so that, you know, because most of the jobs are becoming more skilled in nature. So it's kind of creating this environment of people that are doing really, really well or people that are completely falling behind. So I think one of the jobs of university should be to kind of help the common denominator people kind of, you know, play in a level playing field. So what can universities do to kind of do that? Like how can curriculums change? You know, what needs to be done? The way they teach courses maybe, like they have to change.
Well, there was a recent study by governments that if you have university education, you tend to do better economically in terms of income. But I don't think so university's mandate is to bridge the income gap. I mean, if that was university's mandate, it would be a challenge for universities because then they become part of the economic measure. But I don't see in the GDP of Canada saying, well, if university contributed that amount, so therefore they should be remunerated for that as well. I don't see it. So that question is valid, but if I had to answer to you, I would say that's a very tough question to answer. And you're asking the role of the university in society, correct? Is that what you're asking?
No, it was just a general question of like.
Okay. So if
like
you're looking
the
for more
needs of
skill
jobs.
sets, there are institutions that offer, colleges that design for that to prepare you for the job market. There are private institutions that you take courses. At the end of the day, when you go finish university, the value of university for you is not to have a skill set of how to screw something into the wall, it's how to make a better person. That's my judgment on it. How to analyze some situation, how to develop moral judgment. These things stay with you through your education. That comes because of the education. Not only as a source of education, there's not only source, you can have other sources for that, but university is supposed to give you that. When you start your job, you will learn how to work with Excel. You will learn that. But to develop moral judgment, that's something you have to really struggle for it for a long time. And hopefully university can contribute to it. So if that's the question you're asking, probably university help you. But if you're looking for skill sets, definitely there are institutions that can help you with that. And it's not necessarily on the university's plate to do that. I sort of differ with the rest of the folks on that.
And on the mentorship question, does anyone else have any experiences with mentors in their careers that they'd like to share?
Yes, my experience was not with the technology mentorship and so on. Every little thing that I had to learn by the technologies was through a lot of bruises, a lot of head banging against the wall and so on. But then again, at the end it balances, so it builds you stronger as a person. One of the areas that I think both university and that we are severely lacking in our own lives is not, as you mentioned, the life coaching skills, specifically skills regarding financial management, money management, personal finance, and so on. When these things are in order and when you have things more or less planned, when you have your ultimate dream, and it's not just a dream, but you have a financial vehicle or the business model or something that can bring you to that, that is, I think, when all of the parts of your life, both professional, personal, and then the financial, genuinely come together and bring you to where exactly you want to go. So, in other words, don't look at a career at any cost. Right now, maybe for when you have some of the student loans and so on around the horizon, it may be a little bit higher pressure situation, but sooner or later you will realize that again that you need a diverse approach and not career at any cost situation.
Okay. I think we have time for one more question. Okay, I will leave you all with a question then. If you could leave the students in this room with one nugget of advice for their careers and career planning, what would it be? Let's start with Guselle. I'm going to go this way.
for career and career planning? Well, let me put it to you this way. Whether 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you will find a job. I just recently, a person I previously met through one of these meetings, lunch and what is it called? Taste, I think. He found a job, and he was economics background and some tech background. So we had conversations, and he was trying hard, and he found a job. So you will find a job one way or the other. You have simply to meet your life expectations and make some money. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself some question along the way. What is it that you really like to do? It's not always the best job, the most paying job. It's not the job with the great shine on it. It's something that really fulfills you. And try to answer those questions once in a while. After 5 years, maybe check. So is that true? Throughout your career, you meet mentors. You go through lots of courses. You will take courses here and there. You make career changes, maybe 2 or 3 of them, maybe more. But at the end of the day, if you don't, when you get, let's say, old and you retire, and you don't have a sense that, yes, I have accomplished what I wanted to accomplish or what it should have been, well, then you don't really feel great about it. So ask those questions to yourself. And it's a balancing act. It's not just a career, it's not just a family, it's not just a car, it's all of it together. Right? So just try it. Have fun.
So so you know a lot and probably enough about the technology that you need to know. So I'll offer you 2 parting thoughts regarding the business part of it. First thought is ask more and you'll get more. The fundamental principle of negotiation. People who ask more get more. Don't be shy, don't be afraid, don't be hesitant to ask more. Because again, you might as well get what you ask for in terms of salary, in terms of make sure that you do negotiation regarding your salary when you are given an offer. Don't brain it. Now it's 1 offer, tomorrow it will be 3 offers, and so on. So you'll be well enough. Then do not look for opportunities. Look for problems. You find a problem, you jump on it, you package an attractive solution to that problem. But when you look for opportunities, it's very confusing and highly ambiguous and somewhat competitive territory that you would much rather showing here is the concrete problem, here is my solution, here are the benefits that I'll contribute by, for example, by using technology to your problem. And best of luck.
I think don't wait till you graduate to find a job. I think that's one advice I'll give you. It's once you graduate, it's much tougher to find a job. It's easier to get into a firm as a co-op. I mean, it's less expensive for them to hire you. It's you're competing with other students, which is easier than competing with people who have graduated and have work experience. And it's very important to have work experience before you graduate from university.
And I'd say try to have fun through the whole process and try to, take every interview as an opportunity to learn something and just sort of enjoy yourself. And, the people that you meet in an interview process, they want you to succeed. And so it's not adversarial or anything. Just try to go and really don't get too stressed about it. Just enjoy yourself, have fun. You'll find the job that you're looking for eventually. It's just a numbers game. And don't get discouraged if you get rejections or if people don't respond to your resumes, because it could be one of a million reasons why you didn't get that interview or that job or whatever. So you just got to brush it off and keep going and try to and have fun. So.
Okay, so if you can, go for internships or co-ops. If you're almost graduating, I recommend start looking or start visiting external IT agencies, recruiting agencies. One of them might be, for example, Robert Half Technologies. They're pretty good. Have them screen your resume, and then they can find you contractor jobs. Basically, there's something called being incorporated, which means you don't have to get like a full-time placement or a part-time placement. It's a 3, 6, or 9 month contract position, and that can get you various technology experiences through these IT external agencies. But yeah, if you can, go for co-ops and internships through TIP. And lastly, have fun at York while you can.
Very good. Great advice. I do want to touch on something too that Hussein mentioned, which was the TASTE program. So for anyone who doesn't know, TASTE is our Take a Student to Eat program, where you can apply to go for a lunch with an alumnus or alumna in a field of your interest, and you get to meet with them and have kind of an information interview. So it's kind of a mini mentorship opportunity. And again, work experiences come up a lot. So we do have some members of our internship team here. So if you'd like to speak to Stacy, if you're interested in participating in an internship, she's right here. So it's a great way to get experience. So that brings us to the end of our Q&A session. The intention for this session was to provide students